Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda. I'm wearing my Shakespeare shirt. It is Wednesdays, which means it's Wednesdays with Will. And admittedly, I wanted this video to go out last week, but I just didn't finish it, the play in time, because we're now in October. But this is our September play, and this is also Shake-Tember that we read As You Like It. And I have a lot of confusion about this play. I have not yet seen an adaptation of it. I think that would make a big difference, but I wanted to get this video out. I'm not even really sure I can explain what happens in here other than people run around in a forest. It's not as... there are very interesting things in this play. He says some really interesting things about gender, which may be me putting a 21st century slant on it, but I don't actually think so based on the epilogue. There is an epilogue in here that's given by the character of Rosalind, who's also takes on the persona of Ganymede when she's in the forest, who is a boy, so she's, girl boy thing. And she toys with it there, so there's that. There's some really famous lines in here. It's really nice poetry. I think that, the characters are fun. It's just, I didn't see much of a story. Basically what happens is you meet, at the beginning of the play, things have happened before the play started. Two things happened. One is there was a Duke Senior, who has been usurped, deduped by his younger brother. His daughter, Rosalind, however, stays in the household with the younger brother, who's now the Duke, because she is so close to her cousin, Celia. So there's that. We also have three brothers, Oliver, Jacques, and Orlando. And there is a inheritance dispute between Oliver and Orlando because Orlando didn't get anything from the inheritance. So there is contention between the brothers. Things happen, people get sent into the woods, and then there's a lot of running around in the woods. That's it. And then the god Hymen comes down, and everyone gets married and is happy. That's the play. I've said this before, Shakespeare's plays were meant to be seen and not read, and I really do think that I am missing a really big component from this by just reading it. I have not yet watched an adaptation of it. I think it probably could be really good. The Oregon Shakespeare Festival is doing a production of it right now. I live like 5 hours away from it, so I'm not going to be going to see it. But it is a relatively enough well-known play that there are plenty of productions of it around that I will probably be seeing one soon, or I will just stream one because I have access to that. So yeah, this play put me in mind of two other plays that we've read, A Midsummer Night's Dream because of the running around in the forest, and Twelfth Night because of the mistaken identity and the plays with gender. I think I might have enjoyed this play a bit more had I not read those two ever for reading this, because I think the ideas behind both of those, running around in the forest or plays with gender, are better developed in those. But then again, I am just reading the play, so I kind of feel like I'm only getting half the picture here. But anyway, those are my thoughts on As You Like It. I feel kind of silly making this video because I don't have much to say other than the fact that I feel like I'm missing something just reading this. One of Shakespeare's most famous lines is in here. It's actually the beginning of a monologue. I had never, before I read this, never actually heard the entire monologue, so I am going to read it. It's that long, okay? And Jacques says it. You'll know it by the first line, or the first two lines. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrows. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good cap unlined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank and his big manly voice. Turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. So that's the entire monologue where that very famous line comes from. And clearly they're going through like the stages of life. The other one I want to actually read for you is the epilogue. So there have been plays. They have epilogues. Midsummer Night's Dream has one. Pop gives it. But this one is interesting, and it's given by Rosalind, who spends a lot of the play as Ganymede, she's presenting as a young boy. And of course, no one recognizes her. But then they later say, yeah, he could have been her brother. Anyway, this is the epilogue. And I think this kind of shows where this play is coming from with the play on gender. Rosalind. It is not the fashion to see the lady epilogue, but it is no more unhandsome than to see the lord, the prologue. If it be true that good wine needs no bush, 'tis true that a good play needs no epilogue. Yet to good wine they do use good bushes, and good plays prove the better by the help of good epilogues. What a case am I, and then that am neither a good epilogue, nor cannot insinuate you with the behalf of a good play. I am not furnished like a beggar, therefore to beg will not become me. My way is to conjure you, and I'll begin with the women. I charge you, O women, for the love of you bear to men, to like as much of this play as please you. And I charge you, O men, for the love you bear to women, as I perceive by your simpering, none of you hates them, that between you and the women the play may please. If I were a woman, I would kiss as many of you as had beards that pleased me, complexions that liked me, and breaths that I defied not. And I am sure as many have good beards or good faces or sweet breaths will for my kind offer, when I make curtsy, bid me farewell. So that's how the play ends. So it really does play more on that like male-female dichotomy, which of course, when you're seeing this, if you were seeing this in the very early 17th century, you would have the female roles being played by young men and boys. So I think that Shakespeare's playing a lot with that. I would very much like to see a production of this. In fact, I may do that this weekend and pull one off streaming, because I do think that this is one that depends on performance. I don't dislike it. I think the language is great, and I'll get to that when I get to my rankings. I just kind of feel like I didn't get the whole picture with it. So that's where I am with As You Like It. But let's go to the rankings. So first of all, I do the ratings, which is I base this off the All About Agatha podcast, where they rated all of Agatha Christie's novels so there's several criteria, and they do 1 to 10. I do 1 to 5. And then I get a subtotal. And then there's the of its time, and that's a deduction. And then that gives me a total, and then I use that for the ranking. So let's go with As You Like It. This is our 17th play. I gave this rating, like my star rating is a 3. I think that's pretty fair, feeling that just based on the play itself, I felt like I wasn't getting the whole picture. So, yeah, I think if I had read this after seeing a production, that rating would be higher, because I'd have a better idea of what this play is really supposed to be. Reputation, I gave it a 3.5. It's Reputation. There's 4 plays that will get a 5-star. Hamlet, Macbeth, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and something else. What was the other one? Hamlet, Macbeth, A Midsummer Night's Dream. There was another one. Totally forgot what the other one is. Clearly, it's worthy of that 5 stars. This is going to really bug me. Hamlet. Romeo and Juliet. We've only done A Midsummer Night's Dream from this so far. So 3.5, I think, is pretty good. It's not the first thing that people think of a Shakespeare play. But, Stickiness. I'm going to give this a 3, because I don't know how sticky it's going to be not having seen the production. As I said, I do plan to watch a production, see how it goes. But my issue right now is it's just people running around in the forest. And I'm going to remember some of the wonderful, lines and monologues in here, but there's not much of a story for me to remember. So this is a hard one. That's why I went for 3. Characters, I also gave a 3. There's a lot of them. And I think that there are some that they focus in on that I think Rosalind is a great character. I think Jacques, who really doesn't have much of a role to play, is a great character. I think Orlando's somewhat interesting, but there's a lot of other characters that aren't really fleshed out, so it's kind of in the middle there. Poetry, 4.5. There are some great lines, including, all the world's a stage, the men and women merely players. There is a lot of that. So really, this is, if you're looking for that kind of poetry and that sort of like encapsulating the world, you get a lot of that in here. And the would I see this? A 5 is I will travel to go see this production. Like, I go see a production that's like, I will travel. And 1 is you could not pay me to see it. And I gave this a 4 because I do definitely want to see a production of it, because I think that's what I need to get the full experience of this play. And that gives me a total of 21. Now, for Of Its Time, I gave this a 2 for a couple of reasons. One is I think that it needs to be staged, which is really not of its time, but I do think that's kind of important. But also, a lot of these ideas with gender really, I think, really were about what was happening right then, with like the men playing the women, that. So, well, I think we can discuss it, definitely, and we can understand it in the 21st century. I think the impact of it was definitely greater in the 17th. So that gave me 19 points. So let's do our rankings. And we always start from the bottom, because we do. In last place, we have a tie. And I will say again, before we go any further, we don't do a play in December, but I reevaluate my rankings in December, so these may shift. And I do a video telling you if they shift. So in last place, we have a tie between The Winter's Tale, which was the first play we read. And that one might be shifted up a bit because it was the first play we read. So, give it a little bit of grace. It might be shifted up. But the second one, I'm not giving any grace to, and that was Pericles. I hated that play. There's almost a dent in the wall for me throwing it against there. In 15th place, we have All's Well That Ends Well. I just didn't like this play. The whole thing of it was a woman trying to trap a man, and I really did not like that at all. It is a comedy. I didn't feel it was especially funny at any time, so I don't feel like I didn't get this play. I think I got it. I just didn't like it. In 14th place, we have King John, and to be fair, this one might be taken up because I really feel that I did have issues with King John, but some of those issues I think are why people should read them, because King John is a history, like some of the more famous, the rest of Shakespeare's histories are pretty famous. The Henry IV plays, Henry VI plays, Henry V, Richard II, Richard III. So they're famous to the point that, looking back on it now, they kind of have merged themselves in with history. So people think that Richard III actually did say, a horse, my kingdom for a horse, which probably didn't say that. It was really interesting. For a very long time, people thought Richard III was a hunchback, and they thought that was something that Shakespeare created. And it turned out when they dug him up from under the parking lot, he actually did have a hunchback. So Shakespeare was right on that one. But this one isn't like that because it isn't as well known. People don't, what we know about King John is not at all related to what's in this play. And Shakespeare takes he does change things, and that's fine. So I think it's really interesting to read a history that doesn't have that same treatment as its other histories. I did have some other problems with the play, mainly the fact that everything's a monologue, which was weird. It's a weird reading experience. I think it would be a really weird viewing experience. So that's why that one ranks so low. In 13th place, I have Love is Labor's Lost. And in some ways, that's a little bit like this one in that the comedy in Love's Labor's Lost, I don't think carries through time. I think it was probably hilarious in the late 16th century. And it's just not funny to us. We don't even know it's supposed to be funny. Some of the things that are happening to us. I do think a good director and a good cast can bring humor into it, but I think it's just a very hard play for that reason. In 12th place, we have one that I was actually a little disappointed in, and that's Antony and Cleopatra. And my biggest disappointment with this was Shakespeare could do some really great female characters. And I expected Cleopatra to be one of those, and she was not. She was very simpering and Now, an actress might be able to add more to it. And I do know that Cleopatra is considered like one of the most difficult female roles in Shakespeare, but I just was very disappointed with that, with Antony and Cleopatra. And then we're going to skip up to 9th place because we have a 3-way tie for 9th place. We have As You Like It, that's one of them. And then we have Cymbeline, which is a much later play, or it's a later play. I can't remember when this one came out. It's a later play. It's a mess. It's a hot mess, but it's kind of a fun hot mess. That makes sense. Like, it's kind of crazy and like, what? Doesn't make a lot of sense always, but at least it's entertaining. Yeah. And then we have The Merry Wives of Windsor, which I don't dislike. I just kind of consider the sitcom of Shakespeare's plays. It was done very quickly. It was fan service to Elizabeth I, who wanted to play about Falstaff. It's a lot of sex jokes. I appreciate the sex jokes. There you go. I do think that it is currently being done at Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and they're doing it like Falstaff and his gang. They're like biker dudes, which sounds really interesting. I gotta be honest on that one. That one I would like to see. But yeah, those all tied together. That's why we're in 9th place. And then in 7th place, we have a 2-way tie, which is very strange that these two are tied together because they're very, very different plays. The first one is Coriolanus, which is actually a very complicated play. It's not done widely, and I understand why, because it is very complicated. It's set in ancient Rome, and it's about a general, and there's a lot of political stuff going on. But also, given reality, it's kind of an interesting play. There's not a one-to-one comparison at all, but it does kind of evoke some things that make you think about things that are going on in our world now. So it's interesting, but it's definitely difficult. It is not an entry ramp to Shakespeare, not at all. But I did see it. We kind of forced this one because I had tickets to see a production of it, and so we read it really early on in this. And I wonder if I do a reread of it, which I might do when I'm done with all this. Reread some of these, and see how it goes with me now. We'll see. And the other one that we have in 7th place is the polar opposite. And a lot of people consider this their favorite Shakespeare play. In fact, I think it is the highest rated amount of Shakespeare's plays on Storygraph and Goodreads, and that's Much Ado About Nothing. And I love half of Much Ado About Nothing. I love Benedict and Beatrice. I think they're fantastic. The writing and the quips and the banter is just the best. Nothing comes close to it. But then we have this whole other story of Hero and Antonio. Is that his name? Can't remember. Anyway, I've blocked him from my mind because he's horrible, and I hated that story. So it was really hard for me to give this the full-throated praise that so many people give this play when I hate half of it. But I love the other half of it. So that's where I am with Much Ado About Nothing. We have another 2-way tie in 5th place. The first is Henry IV Part 1, which is the only other history we've done, besides King John. I liked it. I know not a lot of people like it. I do. It's, poor Henry IV's got the son who just wants to party all the time. I'm for that. It was kind of a fun play. I liked it. I do like the histories. I watched the Hollow Crown episode of it. The Hollow Crown, I've mentioned this every video, but I love it so much. The Hollow Crown is a series, I guess, that the BBC did. There's 2 series in the UK, or 2 seasons of it in the US. The first is Henry IV Part 1, Henry IV Part 2, and Henry V. No, it's Richard II, Henry IV Part 1, Henry IV Part 2, and Henry V. I did watch Richard II kind of ahead of time, just because, but now I'm saving this. Oh, the second season is Henry VI Part 1, 2, 3. But I'm saving them now for as we read them. So I watched the Henry IV Part 1, and Henry and Prince Hal, so who becomes Henry V, and is Henry V in the plays coming up, or the episodes coming up, is Tom Hiddleston. It's so good. But I liked it. The other one we have is an excellent play that really took a hit of its time, and that's The Merchant of Venice. In 21st century time, it reads as very anti-Semitic. 16th, 17th century, I think it was the opposite of anti-Semitic, because coming from a very different place, and I recognize that, but I still see the inherent danger of it now because of what's in it. I think that Shakespeare was saying probably the exact opposite of what we would see in it now, but just the time goes, and but it's a good play. It's good. Let me tell you, it is good. It's great lines. Really, that one is almost like a 5-star on the Reputation one because it's so good. Okay. In fourth place, we have my husband's favorite play, which is The Tempest. I like it. It was fourth place. It's a great play. It has more drunk jokes than sex jokes, and I prefer the sex jokes. So, but this is another one that I really look forward to when I do rereads of some of these. I'm not going to reread everything. I'm not going to reread Love's Labor's Lost. I'm not going to reread Pericles, for God's sake. But I'm going to reread a lot of these. And that's one that I'm really looking forward to on a reread because I think that one's pretty layered. And there you go. So I think that one definitely has meat in it to keep going on rereads. And then in second place, we have a 2-way tie. We have A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is the only 5-star Reputation play we've done so far. I quite like it. It's the better running around in the woods play. It's very magical and fantastical. That's my favorite thing about it. Personally, I don't really like the whole thing of having the play within a play at the end. That happens in a couple Shakespeare plays. I just don't really like that device. But a lot of people do. I actually like the characters that are around that. I just don't like actually having to sit through that play at the end of the play. I'm like, I'm done with the story now. Can we go home? But yes, it's a wonderful play. But then the other one that's in second place is my favorite play, which is Twelfth Night, which is the other one. That's interesting because both of those are the two plays that this one harks back to. Sentimental, this is the one that I saw the Royal Shakespeare Company do when I was in Stratford-upon-Avon. It is just a wonderful, I saw a live production of recently, 2 years ago. Was it no, it was just this past year. It was the Shakespeare production last season's from the Portland Center Stage. And it's just a delightful, fun, romantic, gender bending. People say it's the gayest of Shakespeare's plays, which it is. But it's just fun. It's got super memorable characters. I love it. Oh, Twelfth Night. But the highest rated play we have, which I do stand by this, even though my favorite play is in second place, the highest one is Othello. Othello is, I have said, and this being one of them, where sometimes, the play on the page isn't as good as the play on the stage. Othello is just as powerful on the page as it is on the stage. Iago is the best character, I think, that Shakespeare has created. It gets right to you. It cuts right through it, and it's juicy. That is the word that I use to describe Othello, is just juicy. Iago has got to be an actor's dream to play. There was going to be a production in New York of it. Has it happened yet? I don't know. I think they're filming it. I don't know. But it's Denzel Washington as Othello and Jake Gyllenhaal as Iago, which I think would be fantastic. There's also a production of Twelfth Night that I would have killed to see with, who's in it? Lupita Nyong'o, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Sandra Oh. I would have loved to have seen that, but, I live 3,000 miles away in war-torn, ravaged Portland, Oregon area. So FYI, that all happened the morning that I'm filming this, so, Anyway, that's Shakespeare. I will save my ranting about the world for my weekly wrap-up, which you have already seen, because it will have been out on Monday, but I'm filming it tomorrow, so. But yeah, that's As You Like It. Our play for October is Timon of Athens. I know nothing about this play. I'm not even sure if it's a tragedy or a comedy or what. I don't know, but it's okay. I'm going in blind. I'm going to go in blind to Timon of Athens. I have gotten a confirmation that this is pronounced Timon. There is a woman on Instagram who's a Shakespeare expert, and she does these videos. And in the same video where she talked about how Jacques, which I already knew was pronounced Jacques because I listened to this as I read it, but Jacques is also pronounced as Jakes, but never Jacques. But she did say Timon. This is not Timon. It's not Timon from The Lion King. It's Timon. So anyway, that's our October play. Next week, as you see this, I will be pulling our November play and our last play for 2025. I'm actually going to be filming it right after this, so I will know before you know. Anyway, I'm getting a little blabby, so I'm going to stop now. Like, subscribe, join my Discord. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.